Let me begin by introducing myself. My name is Bridget Laffin. I am Director of the Robert Schuman Centre for Advanced Studies, which is part of the EUI. I'm here today to tell you something about the Schuman Centre, and I hope in the future, during your time at the EUI, you will engage with us at the Centre. I would like to warmly welcome the new doctoral researchers, the fellows and the visiting colleagues that we have who will be with us during this academic year 2020-2021. We meet in strange times because, of course, normally I would meet you in the teatro, but today we meet remotely because of COVID-19. But what's very important is that we continue to uphold the intellectual community that we have at the EUI, that space for study, for research, and I hope in time to meet all of you personally. Let me begin by telling you something about the Schuman Centre. The Schuman Centre was established in 1992. It was the first new academic unit to be established at the EUI. Before then, there were the 4 departments. It was established because there was a demand from outside that the EUI would have a unit that was looking carefully at developments in the European Union and at what was then called the construction of Europe. Since 1992, the Schuman Centre has grown from a very, very small unit to now at any one time having 200, 250 people, depending on the time of the year. And we're housed in Villa Schifferneue, that beautiful villa that you see on the slide. So who are we at Schuman? Schuman is the EUI's platform for interdisciplinary research that is of policy relevance. We are that space, the arena at the EUI, where the disciplines can come together from the strength of the disciplinary departments. We spend a lot of time in outreach, engagement with the world of practice, developing policy briefs, policy dialogues. We're very interested in contributing to the deliberation and dialogue and policy around the major challenges facing our part of the world. And of course, we use the convening power of Florence. As director of Schuman, I have discovered that when you invite someone to come to Florence to give a talk, to participate in a conference or a seminar, they want to come. And even when they can't, they always say, well, please invite me again. So one of the great values we have at the EUI is that wonderful convening power of the beautiful city of Florence and the surroundings of Fiesole. Who is part of the Schuman community? And it very much is a community. It's a community of scholars. We have, as I said, about 250 staff and fellows. These consist of Schuman chairs, professors, joint chairs with the departments. They're a major link we have to the departments. We have joint chairs with every department. And then we have part-time professors. So in terms of the scholarly community, there are approximately 60 full-time and part-time professors, mostly part-time, at Schuman. We then have an additional 100 researchers who work on our major research projects. We bring in a lot of research income from outside, and in order to do this, we need obviously a cohort of researchers. But we also welcome and renew our community every year with fellows. We have Monet Fellows, Max Weber Fellows, institutional fellows, and then we have a large and very valuable administrative support staff. One of the great characteristics of Schuman is that it works well as a team. We have a wonderful staff both for the programs and at what we call Schuman Central. So we have a large community and a very vibrant community at the heart of the EUI. Our research focus, obviously, the world out there is complex and challenging, so we have to focus on what our priorities are. What are the areas that are most of interest to us? And we have three. The first is European integration, how it is governed, and its relationship to democracy. The second area is how markets are regulated, the single market, in Europe and the single currency, regulating markets and governing money. And then thirdly, we're very interested in the global shifts in politics and geoeconomics and how they relate to Europe. So 21st century global politics and Europe. These are our three core research areas, the broad umbrella themes under which our various programs, projects, and centres operate. So I said already that we brought in a lot of external funding to the EUI, because without that external funding, we wouldn't have the resources to hire researchers, to welcome fellows, to have visiting scholars. And as you see, over the last number of years, from 2006, when our external income was about €3 million, last year it was 9 million. And in the last 2 years, 2018 and 2019, we've had the highest volume of external funding in the history of the Schuman Centre. And this is a very important indicator of the quality of our work. And we bid with external, the EU Horizon 2020 programs for funding. But funding provides us with the resources to run our research programs. So moving on then to our major programs and centres. Under the umbrella of integration, governance and democracy, we have three main programs or centres. The first is a programme on European governance and politics that looks at what the major dynamics of domestic and EU politics are and public policy. Secondly, we have a very successful Centre for Media Pluralism and Freedom, and this centre conducts an audit every year of the degree of media pluralism and freedom across Europe, but not just the member states, but also neighbouring states. And then finally, we have a Centre for Judicial Cooperation that engages in analysing and engaging with judicial cooperation across Europe. That's the first major area. Then secondly, we have regulating markets and governing money. And here we have a mixture of programs and funded chairs. The Florence School of Regulation is one of our most successful schools at the Schuman Centre. It started out as a very small unit, but now engages in research and policy outreach and training on the whole area of regulating markets in energy, communications, transport, water, and now has a very strong climate dimension given the climate crisis. The Florence School of Banking and Finance is a young school. It was established as the EU responded to the Eurozone crisis and engaged in a centralisation of supervision of banks in Europe, we followed suit with a unit that looks at those new federal dynamics in Europe. And then we have two chairs, the Pierre Werner chair, named after Pierre Werner, who wrote that seminal report on the euro back in the late 60s, early 70s, and the Tommaso Padoa-Schioppa chair that honours Tommaso Padoa-Schioppa, who was a commissioner, a central bank governor, one of the great thinkers of Europe, and we're very pleased to have that chair. And then finally, we have 21st century global politics in Europe. And here we have a very strong global governance program that looks at international economics, Europe's place in the world, citizenship trends across the world, and cultural diversity. We have a very successful migration policy centre that works on that very important area of mobility and migration in Europe, but also globally. And as we know, mobility is one of the characteristics of our global world. And then finally, a relatively young program, Middle East Directions, that was established in the aftermath of the Arab Spring to analyze the key trends and dynamics of the southern shores of the Mediterranean, the MENA region, which is an absolutely crucial region for Europe's prosperity and Europe's future. In this talk, I've tried to give you a flavor of what we do at Schuman. We have seminars, workshops, conferences, and I would like to particularly say to the doctoral researchers, engage with us, get to know what we do, and become part of our research, endeavor. It is possible in later years for doctoral researchers to take on short contracts with Schuman to engage in research on the big programs. And that is always very useful for the researcher in terms of their training and exposure, but also for us in Schuman because we bring the early career scholars to Schuman. So please don't forget us. Don't stay within your departmental homes. Think about us, attend our events, keep an eye on what we are doing. I hope I've given you a flavor of what we do in Schuman. I'm very open to answering any questions that you may have at any stage. You will find me and my email on the web. And I thank you very much for listening.